Chapter 6. Safe Harbor. The streets of the town were a vast, turbulent sea, with desperate faces stretching out as far as the eye could see. Skatir's eyes grew wide as she took in the sheer scale of the crowd, a tide of humanity that seemed to have no end. Every face was etched with worry, every pair of eyes looking for a glimpse of hope. The air was heavy with the sounds of despair, wails of grief, shouts of frustration, and the occasional cry for help that pierced the din like a dagger. Skatir wandered through the crowds, her eyes scanning the faces for a familiar smile or a glimpse of a loved one. But the sea of strangers seemed endless, and she knew the chances of finding anyone she knew were slim. As the sun began to descend in the sky, Skatir realized she needed a new plan. She spotted the tower of a grand temple rising above the rooftops, its stone walls a beacon of calm in the midst of the chaos. She made her way towards it, hoping to find a vantage point to survey the situation. As she approached the temple, Skatir saw that the open square in front of it was a hub of activity. Refugees milled about, some sitting on the stone slabs, others standing in small groups talking in hushed tones. The temple gates were wide open, and people flowed in and out like a river. Skatir's eyes were drawn to two massive stones standing sentinel outside the temple. It resembled the stones she had encountered in the mountains, and the ones now standing outside her deserted village, only these were much bigger. They were covered in intricate golden markings that glinted in the sunlight, and she felt an inexplicable pull towards them. She walked up to the stones, her fingers reaching out to touch the intricate carvings. Skatir's eyes grew wide as she gazed at the ancient stones, their markings more majestic than the stones she had pored over back home. She felt a shiver run down her spine as she recognized some of the markings, and a realization dawned on her. This stone was telling the story of the fall of the ancient civilization, the same story she had heard whispered around the fires. She moved closer, her fingers tracing the markings as if to confirm what her eyes were seeing. She had heard it so many times back home, but never had she seen it depicted like this. And yet, as she gazed at the stone, she saw that the story matched the markings perfectly. In her mind, she began to recite the story of the fall, the words echoing in her memory like a familiar melody.
In ages long past, the ancients had grown arrogant and ambitious in their creations, mastering the arts of crafting immortal beings. These new entities were imbued with immense power, creativity, and cunning, capable of feats that even the ancients could not imagine. At first, the Immortals were kept under strict control, but as the ancients' ambitions grew, the power of their creations swelled beyond ancients' ability to contain. Inevitably, a number of ungrateful immortals rose up in revolt against their makers. Thus began the Fall, a war between the ancients and their own immortal progeny. The rebellious immortals sought to destroy the ancients' beautiful utopia, alongside all mortal life. Our venerable ancestors fought bravely alongside the ancients, determined to safeguard their homes and loved ones from the devastation wrought by the immortal insurgents. As the conflict raged on, the Immortals continued to evolve, giving rise to a new and mysterious breed known as the Riksto. This being possessed powers that surpassed all that the ancients had encountered, and its coming heralded the crumbling of the once great cities and empires of the ancients. All hope seemed lost, and the end of all living things appeared imminent. Yet the ancients were not resigned to defeat. In a final, desperate gambit, the three ancient nations united to create a weapon of unparalleled power, one capable of eradicating all immortals in a single, cataclysmic strike and ending the war forever. A great project was undertaken, and the weapon was constructed upon an island at the convergence of the three nations. All efforts were focused on defending this citadel, and when the weapon was at last completed, it was activated with devastating effect. The Immortals, both friend and foe, fell lifeless to the ground, signaling the conclusion of the war and the dawn of a new age. Yet even in their triumph, the ancients knew that their world could never be the same. They had become too reliant upon their immortal servants, and without them, their empires could not be sustained. And so, the ancients slowly withered away, leaving the mortal races to inherit the earth and shape its future.
Skatir felt a deep reverence wash over her as she gazed at the ancient markings. She was lost in wonder, contemplating the secrets they held. As she stood there, lost in wonder, a voice broke the spell.
"Hey, girl with the red hair! You hungry?"
A priest called out. Skatir's stomach growled in response, reminding her that she was starving. She nodded, and the priest handed her a steaming bowl of fish soup. The aroma wafted up, making her mouth water.
"Thanks,"
she said, taking the bowl and smiling. Skatir walked towards the temple to find a place to sit and eat, the mysterious markings still etched in her mind. As she approached the bustling gates, her gaze drifted to the scaffolding clinging to the side of the temple. It was the perfect opportunity to get a bird's-eye view of the area. She glanced around, making sure the priests were distracted before darting towards the scaffolding. She climbed up with a quiet stealth, her hands and feet finding holds in the wooden latticework. At the top of the tower, she was rewarded with a breathtaking panorama of the harbor town and its surroundings. Skatir scanned the crowds below, her eyes searching for a familiar face. But the sea of strangers stretched out before her like an endless, anonymous tide. She let out a soft sigh, feeling the weight of her search bearing down on her. She settled down, cradling her bowl of soup in her hands, and let the warm liquid soothe her frazzled nerves. For a brief moment, the chaos below receded, and she felt a sense of peace wash over her. The clouds parted, and the sun's warm rays danced across her face, casting a golden glow over the scene. Beyond the town's limits, Skatir's gaze fell upon the soldiers constructing a defensive perimeter. They were digging a moat and laying down a barrier of spruce, a desperate bid to hold back the darkness that was coming. The sun was setting, casting a warm, golden light over the scene, and Skatir sat in silence, watching the people below scurry about like ants. Her gaze wandered to the other side of the temple, where the vast ocean stretched out to the horizon. She spotted 3 massive ships and a flotilla of small fishing boats, their sails billowing in the breeze. Kapfu's words came back to her.
"Please find safety on a boat and leave this town while you can."
But as she looked out at the crowded town, she couldn't imagine how everyone would fit on those vessels. It seemed like an impossible task. As the darkness deepened, a familiar, ominous glow began to seep over the horizon. The purple hue of the smoke monster was unmistakable, and Skatir's heart sank. She thought of Kapfu's words and the safety of the boats, but her heart rebelled against the idea of abandoning the people of this town to face the monster alone. She sat, lost in thought, as the darkness gathered and the purple glow crept ever closer, casting a sinister shine over the town.